Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime.
Welcome, everyone, to Reckless Speculation. We are coming to you live on January 31st, 2024. My name's Robbie, and I am joined. We are having a crew come on here today in waves to kind of break down different things and give you guys what our takeaways were from Championship Sunday. Two really good games and two deserving champions from each respective conference. And then also just kind of break down what's happening, what we think about things. And joining me first is Tom Sloan.
Good evening, Robbie. How are you?
I am doing fine. I'm one of the few people that we know that is not sick right now. I know you are not one of those people.
Nope. Today, it hit me a little bit about an hour ago. I was sitting down with the wife, and it started surfacing, and so I'm gonna power through as good as I can. And emotions are high after this week, so lots to talk about.
Yes, yeah. So, Tom, I have, as a Titans fan, I have experienced a Super Bowl loss at the 1 yard line. I have experienced a Patrick Mahomes insane run from about 48 yards out for a touchdown in the AFC Championships. I have experienced AFC Championship loss. I've experienced another one against Raj's Raiders. That year, Rich Gannon went on to get beat by the Bucs in the Super Bowl. So I, as a fan, have been here before. You have not.
Nope.
So
No.
tell us, one hell of a run, but as Billy Beane says famously, or as Brad Pitt says as Billy Beane famously in Moneyball, you're still trying to win the last game. So tell us about, the run, and you've talked about it, and what you thought overall about the game.
Well, the run was something Lions fans have wanted for the past 30 years. Obviously, we've talked about it before. It's no secret. It was 32 years since a home playoff win, 30 years since a home playoff game, first playoff appearance since 2014. So to say that we're a starved fan base would be an understatement, but just an unbelievable season, which kind of started last year. The Lions started 1-6 and then finished the season 9-8, capping off with a huge win in Green Bay in Week 17. And it just kind of continued, and there was a lot of hype going into this year. So how were they going to be able to match the hype? Was it going to, were they going to meet the moment? And they did. They did. It was a great season. So basically, okay, let's win the division, and they did that. Let's get a home playoff game and win that. They did that. So I think anything after that, it was meeting above expectations. So coming into this game, I picked the Lions last week, and I really thought momentum was going to carry over. I believed that this team was not afraid to go on the road. And the first half definitely showed that. That was as good of a half of football as the Detroit Lions played all season. From the way the defense stepped up to the the play calling, the big run by Jameson Williams in the first possession, the end around. Jahmyr Gibbs with a big run. The young guys came to play, and it was looking real good, and we were feeling really good as Lions fans. But the trick was, that's a great football team on the other side at the 49ers. It's a great coached football team. They've got Pro Bowlers everywhere. So are they going to go into the halftime and just sit on it, or are they going to make adjustments? And are they going to come out? And the Lions needed to be prepared for an onslaught. They got the ball to start the second half, and it started right there. Although they made some nice plays, kept them to a field goal in that first possession. But I mean, after that, it was all San Francisco in that third quarter, which has been the Lions' Achilles heel pretty much most of the season, with the exception of the Tampa Bay playoff game. They had a hell of a third quarter, but all the ghosts showed themselves in this game. The tackling or lack thereof, and the questionable play calling going forward on fourth down. All the things that I think you mentioned last week's show that could hurt them surfaced.
Well, before we get to the play calling, actually, let's get to the play calling, and then I want to talk about Lions fans, and then that's where I have that question lined up. Did you have, because of the media, it's been kind of 50-50. Obviously, this is how we got here. Don't change Tigers or Lions. I guess Lions don't have stripes, but Tigers don't change their stripes at this point. Did you have any problem with it?
The first one, I was okay with, because Badgley is very inconsistent beyond 48 yards statistically. So
wait, before you go on. So as an outsider, or as someone who has watched the Lions because of you and because of the show, and I follow them because we need to, what kind of kicker do you guys have? So,
well, we had up until week 14, it was Riley Patterson, who was a third-year kicker. He started his career here and then ended up in Jacksonville, and then he came back this year, and he was okay. He's got a big leg, but he was fighting with some consistency. But Badgley was here last year, and he was pretty good last year, but then was on practice squad. They bumped him up in the Denver game, which I didn't understand why. They said that Patterson had some sort of a leg injury, which I don't believe that. And then the next week he was cut, basically. So Badgley is he's pretty decent within 45. A little shaky from extra points. He's not the best kicker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that played into the decision, at least the first fourth down, which I was okay with. 4th and 2, very manageable, and the right play was called. Goff made a really nice throw to Josh Reynolds, who prior to that game was Jared Goff's security blanket. When they needed a play, they would go to Josh Reynolds, and he's been consistent all year long. He dropped the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't fault Dan Campbell, because, yes, this is how they've got where they are. They are aggressive. He believes in his team, and the team loves the fact that the coach believes in them. So the first fourth down, I was okay with. But they also had the lead at that point. So they had a little bit of wiggle room to deal with. Now, fast forward into the fourth quarter, they're down by a field goal. And it's 4th and 4, and you're well within Badgley's range. And you go for it. And obviously they didn't convert, and that was the one that bothered me, because you got to stop the bleeding at some point. They had been shut out up to that moment in the second half. San Francisco was just having their way with them, so you've got to find a way to put points up on the board, and they didn't do it there. So San Francisco gets a short field essentially, and they go down and they take a 10-point lead, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and I agree. So I didn't have a problem with the first time they went on 4th down and not take the 3 points because they called a good play. Like it was, I get more frustrated if you go for make a questionable decision, you call a bad play. They called a good play, but what sticks with me when you're talking this is, did you make the right call or wrong call? Is I think Dan Campbell thought he made the wrong call on that first 4th down conversion because he went for it again. And it was almost as I got to prove myself right instead of taking because that 3 points that settles everyone down.
Yeah, I think he gets caught up in the moment sometimes.
Yeah.
And if you go back to their losses throughout the season, it boiled down to them going for it on 4th down. Seattle, they went for it on 4th down in their own territory, and they didn't convert. And most of the other losses that they had, the aggressive nature of Dan Campbell was pretty much the reason. Obviously, you got to execute, and if they don't execute the play, you look at look, here's the bottom line. They convert, Dan Campbell's a hero. They don't convert, then there's questions, and people wonder, what's going on with this guy. And unfortunately, that was the case.
And speaking of questions, I feel your pain. I think we've talked about our rankings of sports. Tennessee basketball is at the top for me as far as my fandom. And I got to get my Tennessee shout outs in here every show. But last night, Tennessee lost to South Carolina in basketball. And people calling in the radio shows, oh, fire Rick Barnes. You have the 5th ranked team in the country and you want to fire your coach. And I know us from texting, you have it. So I consider the Tennessee fan base pretty dumb myself. And I know you've been hearing some fire Dan Campbell, which is just so idiotic.
There were a few. There was a former Detroit radio guy, Rob Parker, who now is with Fox Sports. He was very vocal in saying they need to fire Dan Campbell. Just fire him. It's like, let's stop for a minute. 3 years ago,
you just had the most successful NFL Lions
in your history
ever.
I mean, the most wins in franchise history, most playoff wins in franchise history. So it's like 3 years ago when he came in, 2021, they were 3-13-1. Year 2, they were 9-8. Year 3, 12-5. I'm sorry. A lot of that goes to coaching. And if you're gonna want to kick a guy out because he's aggressive and he believes in his team and he goes for it on 4th down, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You just don't know football.
Yeah. Well, and I can't believe that person has a rate. I assume it's just one of these clickbait radio shows.
He's been around the circuit.
I mean, it's our Fox, years. So
and when he was in Detroit, he was that way. We have a local guy that it's all clickbait here on the local sports channel. But the consensus with most Lions fans were angry, but we understand, and it hurts. But we're not going to take it all out on Dan Campbell because, hey, you got to catch the ball. And the reality is Josh Reynolds dropped the ball on 4th down. He dropped the ball 1st down on 3rd down. The ever amazing Amon-Ra St. Brown dropped a huge 3rd down. And Jahmyr Gibbs had a really bad fumble in the 3rd quarter where he was out of position. There's 4 plays right there that changes the outcome of this game. just absolutely changes the outcome of this game.
Well, and I think that, you got to look at the future and how this team projects. Look, there is no Patrick Mahomes in the NFC. There's no even Josh Allen.
Nope.
Like it as a Titans fan, you pretty much have, well, there's a lot of reasons why we have no hope. But Patrick Mahomes is sitting over there.
Yeah.
Detroit, the NFC doesn't have that. And right now, Brock Purdy played well and the 49ers have weapons, but Detroit was right there with them. And you flip a game or two, I think if Detroit's at home, they win that game.
No question about it.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about it yesterday. Like 80% of that game was dominated by the Lions. And it was mistakes. Were the lights too bright? Maybe, because this team is the 5th youngest in the NFL, and they got to the precipice of the Super Bowl. So for anyone to think that this season was a disappointment, they're very skewed because.
That's just stupid. Like,
I think anybody would
don't call it skewed. It's stupid.
Anybody would agree that they're about a year ahead of schedule, and with the news that broke yesterday, you want to talk about 2 days of like I stayed off social media. Like I couldn't. It hurt. It was really hard to watch scenes of Sunday night and the speakeasy was packed. It was great. High fives around. It was an awesome atmosphere. And then just the absolute wind, just such a gut punch. But Tuesday comes, and to hear that Ben Johnson is staying in Detroit, you want to talk about a fan base that went from doom and gloom to unbelievable joviation. It was incredible. So,
let me ask you about this, because probably a month ago, maybe now, the Titans job came open, and I said Ben Johnson was my number one target. And so there's either two things that happen. So either he's a bad interviewer, or he really wanted to stay in Detroit. Because I find it hard to believe if he interviews well, semi-well, there wasn't a job offered for him. What are you hearing as far as those? Did he really want to stay in Detroit? Is he waiting for the perfect job? Is he a bad interviewer? Because Eric Bieniemy, well, there's an underlying thing of race but issue, but he seems to always have been the hot coordinator and then never got a job. So I guess that was a very worded question, but I think you know what I'm trying to ask.
The only thing I'm really hearing is he came out and said his heart is in Detroit. I want to win a Super Bowl here. And it's what brought him back this past season. He labeled it, there's unfinished business. And the turnaround started when Anthony Lynn, who was the offensive coordinator for the Lions in 2021, he was relieved of his play calling duties about midway through the season. And at that point, it was Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson that were kind of being the play callers. And then Ben Johnson got the full-time gig. That's when the things started to change. That's when the offense started to click. So going into last season or this past season, he was the hot commodity. He was the hot name. These young quarter, he was 36 at the time. He's going to get a job. So, no, I want to get it done in Detroit. I like what we got going, and that's what kept him here this season. So, getting to the edge of the Super Bowl, he's 37. He still has time, and it wouldn't a Super Bowl on a coordinator's resume look really good. But then you flip it over and look at the job that was available. Who wouldn't want to go to Seattle? As an offensive guy, you have arguably a top 5 receiver core in the NFL. You've got great running game, and you got a quarterback that you can really open the playbook with. He's got an arm, he can run, he gives you many options. So that would be a really good team to go and coach. And they're right there in the mix in the West and in the NFC. So it's like I really believe
the one thing I'd push back about Seattle, if I'm not mistaken, isn't their ownership still up in the air? Because is Paul Allen's estate still trying to be settled, broken down, or has the family taken over? I know there was a time they were thinking about selling.
I'm not sure, but I can see why you wouldn't want to go to Washington. I mean,
it's in a Paul Allen trust. I think they've kind of settled that, but yeah,
because they were talking about selling it at one point, but has the family just said they're going to run it?
They have not declared who is. Most people believe it's his sister, Jody Allen, but it's basically a family Microsoft deal. Staying out of the limelight, and Tom really nailed it real quick. Johnson, I wouldn't go anywhere without a quarterback. And with that guy, I mean, he made Jared Goff, who was a good quarterback, not great, look like a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. And with the weapons they put behind him, the offensive line, Seattle was going defense all the way. There's no question. They're not hiring an offensive guy. They haven't done that. Under Pete Carroll, they were the top defense and secondary, Legion of Boom, for 5 straight years. They weren't going that route, and I don't want to throw the ball in the rain. If I'm Johnson, I hold out at 36. Mm-hmm. Every other job, no quarterback.
And two, he has a contract through next season, but they're going to readjust it. And there's no question he'll be a top 2 or 3 paid coordinator, and he deserves it. And it was the one thing that after the game Sunday, it was like, Johnson's gone. Who are they going to get? This is a team that gelled under his playbook. Essentially, you're going to bring in a new guy, new plays. Are we going to? The schedule next year is tough. It's scary. They've got the talent, they've got the money, but I really do think the coordinator is so important. And when you have the coordinator that is really in tune with the players that he has on his roster, it makes it even better, hence where the Lions got this year. So there was a lot of concern for myself, and many Lions fans are like, Aaron Glenn can go. The consensus are he can go. We can replace him. But, man, Ben Johnson's going to be a huge loss. So when that broke yesterday, like, my timeline was just blowing up. My phone was blowing up, and it was like joviation, like amazing. So let's put it back. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So Raj, welcome to the show. A little late as usual, but that's all right. Hey, I want to ask you a question. Shanahan does it again. He takes this team to the Super Bowl. I had forgotten, honestly, that he went with what's this? I can't remember the other quarterback name back in 2020.
Kaepernick.
No.
Nick Mullins.
No,
Nick Mullins ran it.
No, the Garoppolo.
Oh, Jimmy G.
Oh. Yeah.
Yes.
So
let's not talk about him as a Raider fan.
Are the 49ers, while they haven't cashed in all the way, they haven't won it all, are they the best run organization in this league that demands a superstar quarterback and they don't have one? Or is Purdy becoming that?
I think they have arguably the best GM in John Lynch. And, who swings a deal for Christian McCaffrey without really giving up as much as they should have gotten? Carolina was fucking stupid.
Carolina's proven.
Yeah. Dallas, just like the Chiefs, Detroit, we talk about this all the time. Organizations, that a lot of the talent they scouted, Deebo Samuel coming out of South Carolina was the tight end and H-back, like, receiver people didn't know. Juwan Jennings, if I'm not mistaken, was a tight end at Tennessee? Or was he a receiver?
But
Okay.
he had been kicked off the team and then brought back on. So he had some character issues.
That's right. But, Kittle, Ayuk, guys that they seem to have their talent maximized by that staff. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're just an excellent organization. They've been pilfered some through free agency, which is going to happen, especially on defense. But, they were lucky as fuck to win that game. That's for sure. But that's what happens in the playoffs, dude. You throw it all out. This is not the regular season.
Well, back onto Purdy for real quick. I'll give you a number, and it's 42. And that's the rushing yards that he had. And that was the difference in this game. There was a play late, halfway through the fourth. Melifonwu had him wrapped up. And he kind of just rolled out, and then he found Juszczyk for a 12-yard gain. But there was 3 runs that he had that he was, first, second read wasn't there. The middle of the field was wide open. He just took off running. And I think that shocked a lot of the Lions defense. They didn't expect that. Even when their secondary had it covered, had it on lock, and the defense was getting to him up front, he took off running. And as a Lions fan, that was the last thing I worried about seeing Brock Purdy do. And it got him. So, he's a little more athletic than people kind of give him credit for.
I kind of lost your question, Rob. I'm sorry, Tom, but he had rushed for over 20 yards one other time during the season. Tom's exactly right. As far as his day, I did take a prop on plus over a half for the INTs. So when Detroit got that pick, I was very happy. But, he was fairly pedestrian during this game. There was not great throws made. If Kindle Vildor makes that catch, which the ball was thrown right to him, 4 yards past Ayuk, that game's over.
Yep.
I mean, it's a different game, and that's what started it. And the Lions kind of went into shock after that. He did make big plays, but he's also got big play guys around him.
Right.
Don't want to knock Mr. Irrelevant. He's going to get better, but, he threw 11 picks on the year for a reason. And they had a 3-game losing streak for a reason where he wasn't great.
He didn't have his left tackle either, so.
That's it. They lost all 3 games without Trent Williams, and they were 8-9 without Debo. So it tells you he has good resources.
Right.
So he's only going to get better, but is he the MVP or any of that crap? No, not
he is a lot like Jared Goff.
Very much so.
He's going to make the throws. Jared uses his weapons that he has, and he uses it well. If Goff's not throwing picks, not making mistakes, the Lions are going to win. And that was he didn't throw any interceptions in those 3 playoff games, which was pretty remarkable. So and he did not lose the game. They didn't lose because of Jared Goff. He kept them where they were. But I mean, I think Purdy utilizes the arsenal that he has around him.
All right, enough with your conference, Tom. Let's move to Raj and I's conference and the division.
Wait, what about Dan Campbell? I don't get to talk shit about him, or should I wait until the end?
You got to show up on time. Hey, no, Raj. So Kansas City wins. They beat Baltimore in what I thought was a very, very stupid game plan, and just against this Chiefs team, when the goal is to keep Mahomes off the field and you have the best running quarterback and only running the ball 6 times from the running backs. What did you make of the game plan? What were your overall thoughts of how Baltimore addressed this?
I mean, I expected when you have 6 times, that's okay. But, Lamar's over-under on attempts was 11.5. So they barely used him. I mean, he averaged 7 yards. Gus Edwards had 3 for 20. He averaged almost 7 yards. Everybody else had like 2 or 3 carries. I didn't know what they were doing. And it says a lot about the Chiefs defense. I know we're going to talk about that. And Chiefs are the epitome of the playoffs are a different second season. And, you know, we say as a Raider fan, at least we have Christmas, that picture of Kermit Mahomes' wife who yaps a lot, and Taylor Swift, always like they're just stunned in Vegas, or in Kansas City rather. And the Chiefs credited the Raiders for waking them up. So you're welcome. That would be embarrassing. But, you know, they were a different team after that. And I feel like the Ravens played exactly into their hands. And when the Chiefs went up early, it was just a slow burn. They deferred. They got the ball after the second half. Baltimore had 3 turnovers, 1 pick in the end zone. And then Zay Flowers, I don't like this. Oh, he's a rookie. That's the dumbest shit ever. You never, ever, ever extend the ball like that without any protection whatsoever when you know for a fact it's just you and up to 11 dudes standing right there. I know it's easier said than done. I mean, exactly.
Well, that wasn't even the dumbest play. The dumbest play was the personal foul he got.
Yeah, that was, and you could expand more on that because I lost my mind.
There was that play, and then there was the it was old Tennessee volunteer player that they were trying to jump off sides, and he just went and creamed the guy, and another personal foul. And it's like, what? I mean, the Ravens and John Harbaugh, who's usually a very disciplined coach, they played just reckless all game long. Did you see the same thing, Tom?
Yeah, just everything that they accomplished coming into that game went out the window. To me, it seemed like Lamar was trying to stay in the pocket. He was intentionally trying to be a pocket passer. When he had the ability to run on countless occasions, he didn't. And the receivers weren't helping him with a lot of drops. So it just, their game plan, you thought that it was going to begin and end with Lamar doing what he does. And he looked really off. I don't know what the situation with him was, if he was pressing, was he hurt? I don't know, but he looked completely disheveled. And the Ravens defense gave them the ball time and time again, and they just couldn't convert. So I think the way they played coming into that championship game, it didn't follow them into Sunday, because that was not the team that I saw beat my Lions, and I think it was week 5 that just dismantled them in other teams. So it's shocking from a John Harbaugh team that they kind of lost track of who they were.
They were out-coached, flat out. You know, Kansas City took advantage of the underneath. Whatever they gave them, they were quick, short passes. Mahomes was 30 for 39. You know, Kelsey, you should put 7 dudes on him. And what do you have? Like 2 TDs and 100 and whatever yards.
11 targets, 11 catches. I think 121 and a touchdown. Like,
he had 100 yards in the first half.
He had 100 yards in the first half. Thank God he didn't make a heart gesture, or I would have barfed. 11 for 116, so he averaged 10.5, a first down every time he caught the ball. And only 1 TD. Sorry, 2 TDs were last week. You know where they're fucking going with the ball. Kansas City did not run the ball super well. Pacheco averaged 2.8 yards. You know, I think he's a change of pace that makes the defense kind of wonder. One of those where you don't have to average 4 yards just because of his running style and what he can do both between the tackles and outside. By the way, we've said this before in the 2021 draft, taken in the 7th round, 11 picks before Brock Purdy. So what are the odds of that? Those 2 7th rounders being basically superstars in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, you get 95 yards in penalties at home, 2 fumbles, 1 pick, 3 turnovers. Nobody running the ball, and Lamar with 20 for 37, 270, and 1-1. They weren't ready to play. It looked like they showed up, and they haven't been at this level in a while. The championship game last year, lost in the first round. Year before, they lost like their last 8 when Lamar got hurt.
Yeah,
and that's what I saw. I saw a team that thought they could show up and win because they were be at home, and We all know Mahomes loves that.
5 straight AFC Championship appearances for the Chiefs. This is a team that knows how to win. This is a team that's built for these moments. Andy Reid just finds a way. Even when Mahomes isn't having the year that he normally does, they find ways. And Kelsey just hasn't been Kelsey-like, but he does when he needs to. And
Tom, speaking of winning, let me get to you on this. If Andy Reid wins the Super Bowl, that's 3 championships. Where does that put him? Like, what? Belichick, Noel, Gibbs? Is that the list?
Top 5. Top 5, no question about it. Outside of Belichick, he's the best coach in our generation. What he's been able to do with 2 different franchises.
Because Walsh has 2, right? Walsh has 2, and Seifert won one of those. Jimmy Johnson has 2. Switzer won 1.
Does Cowher have?
Cowher has
one. Tomlin has 1.
Well, here in Detroit. But no, I mean, he's just consistently. And the question was, how's this team gonna be without Eric Bieniemy? And I their offense changed a little bit. But nonetheless, they're still in the Super Bowl again. And interesting enough, they tried to get Eric Bieniemy on the coaching staff for the playoff run in the NFL, put a kibosh to it. So you wonder what kind of play calling would have been done with him there. But I think the ultimate answer is it's Andy Reid who's the catalyst to their success.
Raj, we talked about before you got on here. We talked about the Lions' path being somewhat open with no Patrick Mahomes, no Josh Allen, no Lamar Jackson in the NFC. Our teams don't have that luxury. We do have all those people in the AFC. With Kansas City getting rid of Tyreek Hill, locking up Mahomes for a decade, locking up Kelsey. What's the future look like for teams trying to break through this evil empire, if you will?
The worst part is for at least 3 to 4 years, everyone in the AFC West has been trying to construct rosters to beat them, whether it be Speedy on the outside, in the middle, a guy that can cover, also come after them, safeties that can creep up and blitz. There's statistics showing what happens when you get after Mahomes, but if you don't, you're dead. And it hasn't mattered. I mean, they lost Tyreek Hill last year. Everybody was convinced they'd come back down to earth. They won the fucking Super Bowl. And then per usual, the organization, like we talked about, 16 contributors, 11 starters over the last 6 years in the draft. They just reload. And it's an organization with a clear organizational philosophy, just like the Patriots. And what I believe the Lions could be based on talent evaluation and everything else. And other teams don't have that. And they're screwed. We are screwed every time, everything we've tried.
Yeah.
We got Ruggs. Henry Ruggs was designed really for Kansas City, take the top off the defense. Others go underneath. They were looking at Vontae. That's a horrible story in its own right. But, everyone tries to exploit them. It's like Phil Jackson in the triangle, but you can't. Because they've got Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen running the show.
That's a great analogy. It's not that the triangle was some revolutionary offense. It was just you had the best players.
Middle school basketball.
Yeah, hey, I just have the best players and I can win.
Best possible players executing those plays.
I feel the same way. I'm like, the Titans, it's like, don't worry about rebuilding this year, next year. We're looking at a 10-year window. We just don't worry about it till Mahomes retires.
That's right. You got a new coach that'll be there for 2 years, and then he'll be fighting.
We'll do this all again. All right, enough football only talk. We've got to talk about it. Everyone's talking about it. It's on everyone's mind. Taylor Swift, Chiefs going to the Super Bowl. Look, the the NFC Championship has done insane numbers. The Chiefs game has done insane numbers. I think last year it was 114 million watch a Super Bowl. I'm setting my internal over under at 120 million. There's
It'll be over. This KC Ravens game was the most watched playoff game ever, or it was something like that. It'll be over that. And if the Lions would have won, if Eminem was there, forget about it.
Oh gosh!
Did you see Eminem? Did you see him there in the stands?
Yeah,
dude. Eminem's the man,
dude. Did you hear his comments when Ben Johnson decided to come back? He took to Twitter and said, "Well, I get to scrap my diss track that I was writing for Ben Johnson."
That's awesome.
Only the Lions bring the dude out of his shell.
Yep.
He hides when he walks his daughter down the aisle. But with the Lions, he travels to SF. I love it. He's passionate as hell. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So Forbes, I think, put out an article that this whole run has increased the Chiefs brand by $331 million. The Super Bowl is going to be crazy. So my question for you guys is, and we don't need to get heavy into politics, but it is just something, it's a little bit of a phenomenon that I want to talk to you guys about. What does Fox News think they're like what do they think they're doing going after Taylor's? Like, how is this a good idea? I mean, Tom, what do you think?
It's a horrible idea. And it all stems because she was able to get 30 or something, 13 million people registered to vote. She took to social media and said, get out and vote, get out and get registered. And they did. She's outspoken. She's outspoken against women's rights, and she's, a Biden supporter. And you take that and you mix it with Travis Kelce, who, he's a spokesperson for Bud Light. He's a spokesperson for the COVID vaccine. Yeah. So now you have a powder keg from the right of things that they absolutely hate, and now you put them together, and they're the number one act, and they're losing their minds. And this is coming off the heels of a couple years ago when they went crazy with Kaepernick when he took a knee for the anthem. So I thought these people did the NFL years ago. So
yeah. Just a side note, no one boycotts the NFL. So all they're boycotting, it doesn't actually happen.
They're scared to death of Taylor Swift because of how powerful she is and how influential she is. I mean, she's now turning a group of fans that know absolutely nothing about football. Now they're tuning in droves to watch the Chiefs. So the NFL sitting back and just, we did it again. We did it again. Just crown us.
Oh yeah. The NFL had to buy a second money machine to print the money that they're printing.
Yep. But it's just they're afraid of what she represents, what she believes, and what she can get accomplished.
Some idiot I saw tweet or something. He's like, Travis Kelce got a $70,000 bonus for making the Super Bowl. That's why Taylor's with him. And it's like, dude, are you stupid? Like, give her a couple more years. She can buy the Chiefs.
And you have Trump out there saying that he's more popular than her. Yeah. Let's look at our social media numbers. Taylor Swift, 247 million. Trump, 24.
Yeah. Already a billionaire, dude.
Yeah, Raj, what do you make of all this? Just this hatred and this insanity.
Look, I think Fox News, first of all, their parent organization happens to be a partner with the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
No publicity is bad publicity. I mean, personally, I'd be appalled at media thinking I was dumb enough to believe this shit. And yeah, I'll fucking say it. I mean, it is not the most discriminative viewing audience. It is clickbait, fear, confirmation bias. They pick a target. They make it appear as if everyone else is victimized by it, but we're all talking about it. So in the end, they get what they want, except for people like us who graduated high school, and maybe a few other places that
I would say
we know
middle
this is not
school. I'd say middle school.
We're
This
not
is not
dating
the
their sister
gospel.
cousin.
They just
Yeah.
exactly. It's threatened by someone. You need to redirect the anger somewhere. And right now it's Taylor Swift, and it's just a joke. Like, I don't even know what to say anymore. I mean, that was amazing. Yeah, and then when somebody had brought up the money thing, you're like, bitch, she's a billionaire.
Yeah,
Fuck, 70 grand.
She's doing a show
on
in
lunch.
Tokyo on the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. And then she's going to be at the Super Bowl.
No,
She's going to make more.
She legit. She ordered $70,000 worth of champagne to the
She's
Ravens
going to make
box
more
on Sunday.
in those 4 days than Travis Kelce makes in his whole career. So
Yeah,
you know what? And it's a sad scenario because I think they broke down the statistics of, she was on camera. What is it? 1% of the time of the game. I mean,
yeah,
it's
0.96%, and look what it did.
She's the most popular human being on the face of the earth, and she just so happens to be dating one of the best players in football, who's going to games, who's showing emotions. She's drinking. She's doing everything that people that follow Taylor Swift are not used to seeing. She's yelling, "Let's fucking go." And then she looks up at the screen and she's getting angry because they keep showing her. I mean, she's a human being.
this is a person whose whole life has been scripted, and so it's not I don't know how you can get mad at this, right? Like, it's somebody supporting their boyfriend and just having fun. Oh yeah, Jim Leonard's all the Swifties, baby. Jim texts me. He's like, "Do you think?" Jim said, "Do you think Travis is going to propose to Taylor after the Super Bowl win?"
Hold on. That's a bit of a.
Is that a prop bet?
Shall we pull it up? You want to pull it up?
Is he going to go Boise State? The running back had proposed to the cheerleader at the Statue of Liberty. No, I mean, she's not obnoxious.
Can we handle the internet breaking if that happens? Like,
oh my god! But she's not, like I said, obnoxious, ostentatious. She doesn't want to steal the spotlight. She's just there supporting him.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes' wife, a little bit different, but you can she's ride or die with him. You can see her excited and whatnot, and they barely show her 0.96%. And like you said, market surveys and whatnot have seen spikes in social media at the time. Girls aged 12 to 18 generating millions of dollars, over 30 million for the Chiefs in the NFL. It's fucking brilliant. A money printing, as you say, organization, as Rob says,
and
printing money. And she doesn't. It's not like she's doing it on purpose.
They're saying that she's a Pentagon psyop. They're saying that she's a secret agent. That this is all scripted. I don't care. You got Travis Kelce on the field, and he sees her, calls her Tay.
Code word.
That shit's real. When you are calling the most famous person in the world Tay, hey Tay, and he grabs her, and they give a kiss. Like, anyone think that that's not real? Come on. They just need their head examined. It's a great story. It's just not their story. It's not their fan base, because if they were fans, or if Taylor Swift was dating one of their players and they were going to the Super Bowl, they'd be okay with it. That's what it all boils down to. It's just sour grapes.
Well,
it's Tay in Russian is short for Taisky, which means shoot, like gun and shoot. So that's maybe part of that, what they were planning at that time, the two of them together.
Yeah.
Use the racism. And
are they the real life versions of the Americans, the FX show?
By the way, Fox Business said that they're one of the richest couples, worth $1.13 billion. 1.1 billion is Taylor Swift.
Yes.
You need a unit to also hate as well, right? Like, that's the name of the game, dude. Like, as a unit, you need a focus, and Swifties are pissed, and it's fun, dude. I think it's funny as hell.
I think she might take a nap at halftime with the schedule she's going to be on. to be on the other side of the world.
He would never do that. And, you know, it's.
If Eminem was there, maybe there would be the Lions were there, maybe there would be a little collaboration.
Oh,
boy, that would have been fun.
Well, did y'all see the cheapest get-in price is 8,000 something? That's just, and then
Vegas, dude. Think about all the whales and shit. Like,
oh yeah,
it's gonna make so much money behind the scenes.
The suite, like the on like the field level suites, they're going $700,000 for a table.
Which ain't shit to a lot of those people that are going to be there, dude.
Mm-hmm. No, I know. It's
this is a 65,000 seat capacity. And by the way, may I say, as a Raider fan, when they were in LA and Oakland, seeing the San Francisco 49ers and the fucking Kansas City Chiefs play for a championship on our field, just worst case scenario. Dude.
Just don't even watch, Raj. Don't even tune in. Don't even watch.
All right. Let's get to this. What's going to be this astronomical just performance and thing? Right now, the Lions are already moving pretty rapidly. So, which way are you guys leaning right now? Who has the advantage in your mind? Raj, we'll start with you.
Kansas City. And the reason why I say that is, number one, is we know they're the underdog as of now. The line's gone from +3.5 to +1, now +2, I believe. As we said many times, Mahomes is 10-1-1 as an underdog, 9-3 straight up in those games, which is insane. I keep betting on them, even though I fucking hate the Chiefs, but they just keep winning. Not only that, the Chiefs were all wearing shirts in the locker room that said, "In Spags, we trust." This year in the playoffs, statistically, has been his best defense. The Ravens were 3 for 11 on third down conversions. Of course, it could have. I didn't know their fourth down conversions because Dan Campbell's not their coach. But
hey,
no, it's a historically good defense, and you know, I think they are much better coaches. In the end, I go to the coaching advantage and the quarterback. And although the Niners are really talented, I think the Chiefs, especially getting Joe Thuney back, which I think they are just an overall better, more cohesive unit. And I'll take them, unfortunately.
All right, Tom, that's a great segue. I think San Francisco has more weapons, and their weapons are more spread out. But Kansas City has probably the two best weapons. Are you taking the best weapons or the more weapons?
On paper, the 49ers clearly have more weapons. But does that always get you the win? And this playoff run, it hasn't to anybody that's played Kansas City. And I think that the key for Kansas City this year has not been their offense, like I mentioned earlier. It's been their defense. Snead, and excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. Ooh, it just went away. Sorry. Snead and Tranquil.
Live television, nothing like it.
Ooh, it just like came up and went down. Woo.
Tranquil's been amazing, dude.
Tranquil and Snead,
another gem.
We're all over the field. Chris Jones was a man possessed, although he got beat up pretty good last week, so I'm sure he'll be ready to play. But they don't get talked about enough, in my opinion. They absolutely shut down Baltimore's vaunted receivers. Zay Flowers, who's had he's a rookie, but he's had an absolutely amazing season. He really didn't do a whole lot. Odell Beckham, I don't think they called his name once. The best play that came out of that game was Lamar's pass to himself in all reality. So the defense just absolutely lights out. And I think the way they're playing, how fast they're playing, and the way they can get to the quarterback, the offense doesn't have to do much. And clearly, look at the stat line from Kermit. You know, it has not been Mahomes-like. And I think he doesn't mind it that way because it takes a lot of pressure off him when he knows that the other side of the ball is really making things happen. So I think on paper, yeah, San Francisco, I think it got caught up with Detroit, got kind of caught up in that. And I think you can look at how Detroit played in the first half of last week's game. And Kansas City has a better secondary. I think Kansas City's defense altogether is probably better than Detroit. So they kind of made the blueprint. They wrote the blueprint on what to follow. So I see this train rolling. Keep going. And I mean, it's hard to bet against a team that's been there, a team that's proven, and a team that just knows how to win in these big moments. And yes, Las Vegas will be the biggest Super Bowl maybe in history. Who would have thought we'd see a Super Bowl in Las Vegas? But we are, and it's going to be probably the most watched, the most hyped. And if there's one team that can meet the moment, it's the Kansas City Chiefs, as much as none of us want to admit that.
They've got to run the ball. San Francisco, you guys both talked about it. Teams are not running the ball enough against the Chiefs. Miami, Mostert had 8 carries. Tua was second. Buffalo, Josh Allen was the leading rusher in carries. Next, Cook averaged like 2 or 3, like 18 carries for 60 yards. In this past game, Lamar was the leading rusher with 8 carries. Christian McCaffrey is a totally different animal, and they need to run the football, which will change things. But Kansas City's got a way of it with their game plan and taking away one thing and forcing you to do another. So we'll see how San Francisco counters, but that's going to be the most interesting thing because, again, this is historically in the playoffs, if by the metrics, the best Chiefs defense. During the regular season, no. But how they're playing right now, yes.
I agree.
For me, Mahomes is on LeBron's kind of status as far as just betting wise. Like, hey, I'm just taking him because he's the best player in the world, and you give me points, and I'm good. I'm good with that. So I think I'm leaning towards Chiefs right now. We'll see how injuries and things play. But I agree with you, Raj. Shanahan is going to get a heavy dose, or he should get a heavy dose of run the football. And
how do you play as a favorite?
More Tennessee sidekick. The Ravens, the Bills, they need to reach out to the Titans and get Derrick Henry next year and give them an extra level of weapon against Kansas City. All right, boys, we're going to get to Bet Your Nuts. Try to get these people.
It's time for Bet Your Nuts.
I cut you off there, Robbie.
Oh, you're good. You knew what I was going to say. Well, I'll start on this because I'm pissed off about the Vols' performance last night. We had 4 players sit around and watch Dalton Knecht play 1-on-5. We're going up to Rupp Arena this weekend. When I say we, I mean the team, and I am going up there. So, yes, this is one time where we is appropriate. I'm going to Rupp Arena. I think Kentucky doesn't have the defensive fortitude to stop Tennessee. I expect a rebound game from Zakai, Santee, and Triple J's got to get there. Obviously, it's tough this time of the year. The lines don't come out. I will tell you Kentucky should be favored by 3. Take the Vols, money line. Vols go into Rupp, a tough place to win, but they win and get the season back on track.
So to the listeners out there, do the exact opposite what Robbie just said if you want to make it.
Raj, I'm sure you're going to talk about the battle at the Clash of the Coliseum this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah. At the Oakland Coliseum, or like are there monster trucks in LA? Oh, that race is this weekend?
What is it, a quarter mile track?
Jared Goff's
Yeah,
winning.
it's very short.
Olympic institution built in 1932. Jesse Owens was there. Now we got skull all over the goddamn seats.
Wait, before you start, let me just tell our listeners, we are going to do next week, we're going to do a very in-depth Super Bowl gambling pick once the props are set in. So you will take this money I just gave you and triple it next weekend. So Raj, what do you got with that being said?
Well, obviously I like the Chiefs at +2, but props have done very well for me. Actually, tight ends have killed it for me every round, and I've lost a lot, but I've won more thanks to props. And the one I like the most, and we'll get more into this, but right now he didn't do a lot of receiving, but he's delivered more and more in the playoffs because it's all about stuff that the other team's not expecting. And that's a parlay with 17.5 receiving yards for Pacheco and over 11.5 rushing yards for Purdy. I think if Purdy's going to take off, he's going to take off, and there's going to be a wide open space in the field. Mahomes has done check down after check down, very efficient short passes. So that's my favorite. 17.5 yards receiving for Pacheco and an 11.5 yards rushing for Purdy. On another note, defensive end Charles Omenihu for the Chiefs tore his ACL last week, 7 sacks on the year. Great run defender, a great guy with contain who knows his assignments. So that's a big loss for them. But I still think the Chiefs win.
All right. Tom, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I was pretty sure I was kind of scrambling here. San Francisco has a hell of an offense, and Purdy, the last 2 games that he's played when he needed to step up, he really did. But that came against 2 teams that were inexperienced in the playoff run. Jordan Love and the Packers and my Detroit Lions. I don't think they can get away with especially what they did last week, 24-7 deficit at halftime. I don't think they can they'll be able to recover against a team that's been there, a team that's a proven winner. So I like the Chiefs in this game. On my notes, I actually have San Francisco, but as we talked and as hearing, you guys' scenarios, I changed my tune here. I really think that the way Detroit manhandled the 49ers in the first half, I mean, they punched them in the mouth and then they kept punching. And then they went to halftime.
Both sides of the field.
Yes.
Both sides.
Yes. And when they went to halftime, I'm like, oh, I hate the first thing out of my mouth was I fucking hate halftime, because I knew the momentum could change, and it did. So they're not going to be able to get away with that against the Chiefs. So give me the Chiefs. And I think that there's a situation here that San Francisco is going to be playing from behind. And I think Purdy can sling the ball. And I like Purdy over 1.5 touchdowns. That's at a -110 right now. So my quick little prop bet, we'll do a little bit more next week, get a little more in depth. I might come in with some funny props, some different props, since I really I have no rooting interest. So, but I think Purdy's going to be throwing from behind. And when you've got Kittle and you've got Ayuk, you've got a pretty good chance that you're going to get some touchdowns. So give me the Chiefs, but Purdy over 1.5 touchdown pass.
All right. Before we get to final thoughts, please follow us, like us, subscribe, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter /X, TikTok, Instagram. Just search for Reckless Speculation Podcast and we should come up. You can always comment on the show. But yeah, please like us and subscribe. It really helps us out. Final thoughts, Raj. Last of the show, first for the thoughts.
Just confused me. Oh. You had confused me for a second. I just have 2 quick things to say. Number 1, actually 3. In the playoffs, you must pay your dues, no matter the sport. You can't just get there and win it. I firmly believe that. Detroit paid their dues. If you look at the Dodgers, they paid their dues to a cheating Astros. Atlanta Braves did. You kind of got to get there, figure out how playoffs work, the pressure, etc., the decisions, and that's why I think Detroit is going to be fine in the future. But it's been a while since San Francisco paid their dues. I know they were in the Super Bowl a few years ago, but they're going up against a Chiefs team that is a well-oiled machine. And this game's unlike any other. You know, you have an hour and a half halftime and all that shit. Second thing would be take the points. It's the playoffs. Take the points. Do not go for it. That one field goal that in the third quarter that got the Niners going, they could have gone for it. They were on the 15-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
They kicked. That was 3 points, and that started it. And then, again, that they went into shock after the Ayuk play, fumble, touchdown, field goal. The Niners just took the points. Always take the points in the playoffs. And finally, I want to say rest in peace to Pops. My dad passed away 2 years ago today. Our fantasy football league actually sent a card giving our condolences, and that was super cool because I did not expect that. And I'd only been in the league a few years, so that was pretty amazing. But, you know, people like that have the courage to leave home searching for a better life. This was in 1960, taking the Queen Elizabeth across 40 days with my sister toddler, who's in her 50s now, you know, landed in America with $18 to their name now, or 17 rather. Now, he was already a physician, so that helped, borrowed a little money, but just the courage of those types of decisions. And when I don't want to get political or whatnot, but when we hate on others, we need to think about why people are coming to this country and make sure that same reason is possible.
Man. Well said. Well said.
Awesome.
Tom, that's tough to follow. Go ahead.
That was a Tom final words there.
Yeah, I was going to say, welcome to my world.
Definitely. Rest in peace. I can imagine your father was an absolute gem of a human being, because he put one good guy on the earth. I tell you that much. But
did he know how to tell time?
He doesn't claim me. I'm more like you're like your mother. Like,
yeah. Did your dad know how to tell time?
He didn't give a shit.
Okay.
We go to Indian
there it is
all the time.
Okay. I'm gonna correct your dad. You're more like your dad.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yes.
I give a shit. I'm just bad with time management. He literally would, like, my parents went out to Indian functions every weekend, and he would just take his sweet ass time. My mom was ready an hour and a half before, and he would just. I'd go upstairs, come out of the shower, and he's sitting in front of the fan, staring at it, cooling off for like 30 minutes. I'm like, maybe turn down the water in the shower. And he's like, I'm fine. Get me a glass of wine. I'm like, all right, dude. You're going to get her wrath. But he did not give a fuck. So little different in that. I'm just forgetful. But yes, he's we're similar in many respects.
So my final words, I guess I can kind of rehash what I talked about earlier. Just awesome season, awesome experience, first time season ticket holder. We couldn't have picked a better year to start it. The 2 home playoff games were, words can't even describe the emotions that were going through the crowd. It just that team literally united this city. No matter where you went, people had their Lion gear on. The Spirit of Detroit, which is a well-known statue downtown. You know, they put a Wings jersey on when they were doing their run. They put a Tigers jersey on. They put a Lions jersey on, and it was so cool. And just great to be in the city. It was buzzing. Just brought a lot of people downtown that wouldn't normally go down there. So, but looking forward, you know, Ben Johnson coming back. I think this team keeps rolling. This team keeps going in an upwards trajectory. They have almost $60 million in cap space, and they're going to be able to lure high value free agents into this team. But Dan Campbell said it yesterday. Just because you may be the best on paper. If you don't fit what we're doing here, we're not going to bring you in. And that's the gritty mentality that they've had. And you got a draft coming up in Detroit in April, which I invite everyone to come up for that. That's downtown Detroit, April 23rd through the 25th, I believe it is.
7 picks for Detroit with Brad Holmes, who's a superior talent evaluator.
Yep.
With that in the cap, these dudes aren't going anywhere.
Nope.
And Eminem. You got Eminem Mojo.
Yep. So you've got arguably one of the best GMs. The Detroit Lions or franchise, the front office is it's unbelievable. It's changed. So sky's the limit with this team. I expect, and I appreciate the text messages from you guys, the uplifting Raj with the, you just paid your dues. You guys are going to be in, and it's what I think fans needed to hear after such a disappointing loss, but definitely not a failed season. I can't wait for next year. We've already re-upped our season tickets, and we go in next month to possibly get 2 more. And so we're excited. The Detroit Lions run this city, and just the thought of going to a Super Bowl, it would have been incredible, but I don't think it'll be another 32 years before we sniff it again. So go Lions, one pride. I'm proud, and I'm excited that we got to be part of it, and we're going to continue to be a part of it in the foreseeable future.
4 picks in the top 3 rounds in the first 90 picks, 91 picks. Forget about it, dude. They'll be there.
My final thoughts are, we all either have a friend or know somebody that does stupid stuff that is against their self-interest. And that happened this week. The NCAA opened up an investigation on NIL against the University of Tennessee. Well, Tennessee leaked that information and shot back with a federal lawsuit. The NCAA is terrible at a lot of things. The worst thing they are is defending themselves in court. This is going to be another 9-0 decision if it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court. Essentially, what the NCAA is arguing is NIL can't come into play, and you can't pay people or you can't do things until they're enrolled at school. Well, that the equivalent of that would be if I'm a coach and I'm negotiating, I can't hear the terms of my contract until I sign the contract to be an employee at that school. This is a losing argument. It violates antitrust rules. They are going to get kicked off. I mean, the NCAA is going to get just destroyed again. This is essentially the death knell of the NCAA. And we're going to try to get on the future, as after the Super Bowl, as much as everyone loves NASCAR like I do, we don't like to talk about it all show long. So we will try to get Michelle on. Michelle, Raj, I can do a question and answer with Brandon, Tom, from different fan perspectives, legal perspectives, just how this is all going to shape in if you guys want to be nerds for a while. But this is something to keep an eye on, because I do think this is we all wondered when the Big Ten and the SEC were going to form their own league. This is officially the beginning of that. The NCAA just,
and they lost their toy in Harbaugh, so they don't know what to do.
Good on the South on this one. The state of California AG would never do something like this. Nobody would step up like this. And Tennessee's AG did and said what we're all thinking. And it's a powerless organization that cannot stand on its own, like Rob said. And it'll be interesting to watch. I actually started laughing when I read that. So
it's gonna be interesting. So football is gone. I promise you, powers that be are moving football on. The question is going to be like the basketball tournament and how Title IX works. The NCAA has just I think someone said it great. I can't remember who it was, but they were like, if you start swinging enough wild punches, eventually you're going to hit someone you don't want to, and that's what they just did.
Exactly. Yep. They, essentially they allowed the NIL issue to come into play, but then didn't define it well, and now they're saying no. So, state of Tennessee is saying basically you are discriminating. They're anti-competitive restrictions that are not allowing these kids to maximize their types of deals. Like after the fact, you're handcuffing them. There's a thing called the Sherman Act. Like Rob said, we'll dork out on it, but the NCAA just makes up shit as they go along, and somebody's finally calling him out. And I can't wait to see. It's going to be like the end of 8 Mile going full circle, like when B Rabbit drops it and he hands it to Clarence Papa Doc, and Papa Doc's got nothing to say and he drops the mic. The NCAA,
you went to Cranbrook, man. That's a private school.
He went to private school. The NCAA is
pretty damn nice school too, by the way.
Yeah,
the NCAA lives at home with both parents.
It's one of my wife's. Well, I probably, anyways. But yes, NCAA, they have fucked around and about to find out what happened.
FAFO. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll get into it after the Super Bowl.
Yep. Yeah, indeed. All right, boys. We'll be back Wednesday or Thursday next week. We will have our full-on Super Bowl preview, our gambling, get you richer than rich, and thank you for watching. And Brandon, hope you and your family get well. There's a virus going around, but hope you guys feel better. And then thanks for watching. And Tom, get us the outro.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube searching Reckless Speculation. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode of Reckless Speculation.